I was going to ask you this before, and I forgot, but thank God I just remembered. I'll throw it in there. Tell me again what happened the day. I know it ended up, I don't think any blows were thrown, but I think you guys must have been in WWE together when Goldberg came up to you and he tried to, I think, intimidate you, didn't he?
No, it was a little bit more than that. It was, I worked a program with Goldberg in WCW it got over huge. It was just a disaster because they didn't want to do it. And that's actually the reason why I decided I didn't want to be in WCW anymore. Because, once again, I was quote-unquote cruiserweight and not at the level of working a star such as big as Goldberg. And, even though I could have fucking gave him the best match he ever had, those guys were too stupid to realize that. So anyways, long story short, when he...
And how long was that match? Do you remember how long that match was, Chris?
In WCW?
The one you had with Goldberg.
I never had a match with Goldberg in WCW because he didn't want to do it.
Oh, okay. I was lucky enough to be in there 50 seconds with him.
So they wanted me to do that. They started out with it. They put me in there with a midget Goldberg, had me beat him, break a streak. Goldberg didn't like it, and I was like, fuck, I didn't book it. And then they just kept rolling with it, where I kept challenging Goldberg, and every time he wasn't there, I would challenge him, and finally he came to the ring and speared me a couple times. And the people were really getting into it, and then they said, okay, Goldberg's going to beat you tonight in 30 seconds. I was like, no. We have an angle here, and people are into it. Fuck, let's roll with it and do a pay-per-view out of it. Why would you invest all this TV time just to have him beat me in 30 seconds? And they kept trying to do that to me, and I kept saying no. And then finally I had to have a meeting with Goldberg, Bischoff, and Hogan and explain my case. And, long story short, we kept the angle going, but Bill had nothing to do with it and didn't show up, so we never had a match. Then a couple years later, he came to WWE, and things had changed, obviously. I kind of risen in stature, and I wasn't, the low man on the totem pole anymore. And I came through the curtain, and a friend of mine said, hey, Nash and Goldberg were in gorilla position bearing you. Goldberg was saying you don't want to sell, and that you're a piece of shit, and that, this, that, and the other thing. I was like, you know what, fuck this. I'm not going through this again with this guy. Things have changed. And I went up to him and addressed him. I said, hey, man, you got a fucking problem with me? You can't be talking shit. This is a different world now. And he got up out of his chair and just started saying, you've been burying me on the internet. You've been burying me on the internet. And I'm like, fucking internet? Fucking, I'm not don't have time to go online and bury Bill Goldberg. I could give a fuck about that shit. And then he hand on my throat and went like, ah, and it's like, I'm not the toughest guy in town, but where I come from, if you put your hand on somebody's throat, you got to fucking do something about it. So I just kind of swept his hand away and put him in a front face. We kind of jumbled around for a bit, and then I put him in a front face lock, and I took him down. I took him to the ground, because when I worked as a bouncer in Calgary, that was the big move, is if you push someone's chin into their chest long enough, eventually they'll pass out because you can't breathe. So I was like, I'm going to try to choke him out by putting him in a front face lock. But then I was also thinking, this motherfucker's going to get up and kill me. He's going to fucking kill me. So I'm just going to hold on for as long as I can. And he never got up. He tried to get up one time, and I dragged him down again. And then earlier in the day, Funaki had some Japanese wrestling magazines, and I saw somebody like a Gracie or something, and a guy in a front face lock, and had him scissored with his legs. So I decided to try that too. So I scissored his legs, scissored his body with my legs. So I saw it in a magazine.
That's awesome. Now, how did it end? Did he just let him go? Did somebody break it up?
He worked his way up to his feet, and he pushed me out the door of the dressing room into where the fans were. So some fans that saw Jericho and Goldberg busting through the doors. And then we went back inside, and they pulled us apart. And I remember Hurricane Helms had one arm, and Christian had the other arm. And Goldberg broke free from his pack and came towards me. And I was like, fuck, let me go, because the worst feeling, my friend's holding my arms down as the guy's coming. And I was like, oh, he's going to knock me out. So I tensed up my face to get ready for a punch, and Goldberg never punched me. He just grabbed my hair. He started pulling my hair. At that point, one of the arms got free, and I fucking pie-faced him back. And then never forget that the big line was, I said, "Stop it, you're being a fucking goof." And he goes, "Your mother's a motherfucking goof." And,
that's awesome.
You know, Booker T was sitting there with that, he used to chew on an unlit, like, cigarillo, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Did you just say his mother is a motherfucking goof? That is the weirdest thing I've ever heard in my life, man." And,
that's awesome.
We kind of had a little argument, and I was like, "Listen, man, things have changed. You know, you can fucking do this every night if you want to. I don't give a fuck. I will fight you every fucking night. I don't care how much you beat me up, but this ain't going this way." And I said, "If you're smart, you'd fucking like me, because if we ever have a match together, I can make you look like $1 million or make you look like a piece of shit, and you'll never know the difference." And kind of like, you know, I think I felt bad for him after a bit, because it was like his first week in the company, and, you know, he did not want to fight me. He was using intimidation, because, you know, most big guys don't know how to fight because they've never fought before. You know,
right.
They've never been intimidated and had to fight for their lives. And when you're a little smaller guy, it's the way it used to be. So, you know, once again, I think in retrospect, he probably wishes that it never happened. And I know in my case, I'll never have a rematch with him. It's going to be Jericho 1, Goldberg 0 for the rest of the time. If he ever fucking you know, wants to fight me, I'll run away. Because, you know, I got lucky not to take it.
So you retired undefeated on that one. No, that's sweet, man. Thanks for the